Hello and welcome to Skeindeer Knits. My name is Ellie and I am a Norwegian living and knitting in London. And yeah, this is my knitting podcast, talk show, channel, what have you, where I talk about what I've been knitting on since last time. And I'm also a knitting designer, so I make knitting patterns that you can find on Ravelry under Skeindeer Knits. And this is Embla, my miniature schnauzer puppy. I mean, she's over 2 years now. She turned 2 in April. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about my dog the whole time. I'm going to talk about knitting. And I haven't recorded in about, I think, 3, possibly 4 months. So there's actually quite a lot of knitting to talk about. And because I am the most excited about the things that I'm currently working on, as you know, you'd hope, I'm actually going to start with works in progress. And then we're going to get into things that I've finished because it's been a while since I finished them. So I kind of have less to say about that than the things that are currently on my needles. So we're just gonna dive straight into it. There is a cardigan that I have been wanting since the early days of my colorwork knitting. It's the Voss cardigan. And I have also gone through a bit of a journey in terms of my knitting preferences. I always loved the light and lofty and airy knits that don't weigh a lot, easy to carry around, easy to layer with. And it's not like I've stopped loving those. I just also now have this huge appreciation for densely heavy knits. And I adore the yarn Peer Gynt by Sandnes, one of their few Norwegian wools. And I just knew that if I could find the right shades of grey, I will knit the Voss cardigan. Now, finding the right shade of grey turns out not as easy as I thought it would be. So I made an order from the shop Knit in Teddington, just outside of sort of West London, or within West London. I think it's within the borders. It's a very nice town, it's a very nice yarn shop, and I decided to get 2 shades of grey that I thought would contrast well. And this is what I have left, which I guess kind of spoils the sort of decisions that I made. But looking at these 2 in daylight, now I had half a kilo of each of these, I thought the contrast was way too low. I sat with it for a long time and asked other people, and everyone was like, it's too low, it's not gonna pop, it's not. So I thought, you know what, I always err on the side of caution when it comes to how low the contrast or how high the contrast should be. I'm a very typical Norwegian colourwork knitter, so I definitely do more contrast than not. When in doubt, go for more contrast. That's always been my advice. I don't do the like black and white filters on my phone and things like that, which also wouldn't have helped me because this is already grey, you know. So I made another order and bought another kilo of Peer Gynt because I didn't realize at the time that they had actually split the Peer Gynt colors into 2 groups, the regular and the collab that they have with the designer Petite Knit. And so I'm like, oh, so Petite Knit have her own shades of grey. So I ended up with another batch where I went for a slightly lighter grey and a slightly darker grey than the ones that I had ordered. And I looked at it and I was like, this is actually not what I want. It's actually not it. And that made my decision harder. It just felt like the right shades wasn't up here on this very vast grey colour palette. That is more than I could have asked for. So I was like, wait, am I being silly? And the pattern that I am knitting from, I'm barely knitting from it because I'm obviously using a completely different yarn weight. Roma's pattern was made for Finul, which is more of a sport to fingering weight yarn, whereas Peer Gynt is more of a worsted weight yarn, give or take. So I say give or take, we don't use yarn weights in Norway, so this is just my estimate, but just to give you an idea, they're very different. And I wasn't going to make the Finul cardigan with a 28/6 stitch gauge. I wanted to make this on a 22 stitch gauge, which is still very tight for a worsted weight yarn. Normally you do worsted weight on like 18 stitch gauges. So, you know, that's the difference between like a whole needle size in metric. So I looked at the Finul skeins that I had laying around, and lucky for me, I actually had the colors recommended in the pattern. I don't actually remember my thought process, but I just looked at the greys that I had and I was like, well, if this is such a close grey and I think that contrasts well in the photo, this is it's gotta work. I just decided to just start with the sleeves, figure it out. If it's too low a contrast, well, boohoo, I've only done the sleeves. I can use this yarn from something else if it doesn't work. But it did work. This is the exact contrast that I wanted. This exact shade where it's not popping, it's not like black and white. You wouldn't mistake this for black and white, but it's just so muted and delicate. And this hasn't even been blocked. This is how nicely this yarn knits up. I mean, I'll give props to my own tension. It's not a bad tension, but And I also painstakingly change needle size between the rows where it's mostly stranded and the rows, rounds that mostly are not. So if there's very, very long floats or no floats at all, as in plain stockinette, I will use a smaller needle than I will do with the rows with color work. And it just looks really even. It doesn't like dip down where you see there's like a checkerboard pattern or more dense color work. And that's because I have changed needle size every time. Which is easier enough when you do with interchangeable needles. I just hook on a safety pin at the bottom of my knitting that I can just stick into the needle and get the needle off and tightly attach the new one, and it's just very easy for me to do it that way. So anyway, I have 2 sleeves and they are stunning and quite possibly in the theme of this podcast as of late, probably too long, but I want this to be a big cozy cardigan anyway. So I'm going for, I think, somewhere between 4 and 6 inches positive ease on the bust, which is probably no positive ease on my hip, but that's just how I'm shaped. And I'm going with a lot of ease for the sleeves. These are gonna like, there's a lot of room here. Let's just get them both on like weird little gauntlets. Right, this is going under the arm like this. Ta-da! That's that. So there's a drop shoulder, so they don't need to be like all the way up. Does this look smart? I am so pleased. There's nothing I would do differently here. And the things that I have done differently than this pattern that I'm sort of squinting at, not really following, just like, oh, shorter cuffs. I don't love a massively long cuff the way it's suggested, so I'm just doing half of that, and I think that's quite nice. I'm doing the belag that you're doing at the very top here, where you're doing a reverse stockinette for the very top, so you can see it's reverse stockinette facing. So basically, once this is popped through the sleeve hole, you take this fabric and you use that to cover the steek of the sleeve hole. I've done the same thing in my Korsakoff pattern, and so I decided to use the method that I had used there, which is where I work this belag, as it's called, flat, so it gaps here. And that means that these will gonna be completely level horizontal with the rows of your garment. It's just a lot easier to stitch in and kind of know that you're doing the right thing. Whereas in the Doma pattern, they want you to knit in the round with increases along these, where I have just split it up, so I don't have to increase there. This probably made no sense, but if you are having the pattern in front of you, that might just be a suggestion you can take and run with. I'm very happy with it. I'm very happy with my increases. As per most Norwegian colorwork patterns, Doma will tell you how to center the chart, sort of vaguely, and you just check that that works. I like to tell the knitter, like in my patterns, to start on the specific column that will lead to center it, and they will just tell you to center it, and you're gonna kind of find out how. And I kind of prefer that, because at least then I feel like I have some control, but that's just me being a designer that can't follow a pattern to save my life anymore. I have purled a central column here, and that means I can do it completely symmetrical on each side, because I will have a kind of odd number of stitches for the chart, but there will be that extra stitch to make it even number and make the rib add up and stuff. In the middle here, it's just like a hidden purl stitch that kind of looks like a faux seam because it pulls together. And I like to do that most of my colorwork patterns as well, although a lot of times I've done different things just because, you know, I don't want to get bored and do the same thing all the time. But this is definitely a preferred method. Again, this is not a part of the sleeve you're going to see a whole lot. It's going to be under the arm, but it's just good to know that like I've done what I can to make it look reasonably nice, considering you can never do color work in a way that it will always add up to the stitch count and the color work chart. That's just not reasonable unless you want to make a completely straight sleeve and not be able to grade it well for all sizes. So I don't like doing that. Anyway, they are completely identical, row by row, stitch by stitch, no mistakes. I have just been enjoying these, which is so strange because the weather has not been dense 100% wool worsted yarn friendly. We've just had a constant heat wave since May. We've broken heat records in London. The grass is dead, the weeds are dead, everything's dead. It's not just that the grass is yellow, it's actually taking on a shade of grey, speaking of which. And it's hot. There's a water hose ban now. It's not been raining for over a month, if not 2. Yeah, you don't want to hear about that, but it's kind of sad. And it's been kind of interesting and fun and strange that I have been so hyped about a knit that, if anything, is manifesting winter. I am definitely not a summer animal. My dog, however, she's happy in the cold, she's happy in the heat. I don't want to go outside even when it's like getting close to 40 sometimes. We've been definitely mid-30s and upper 30s. That's like 100 degrees. For those of you Fahrenheit people, London's not built for it. People don't have home AC. Brick buildings just turn into baker ovens this time of year. So it's just not the best, but even a regular schmegular summer isn't for me. I am a spring gal. I love my spring. I just love it when it's bright evenings but not too hot. You can see things turning green rather than yellow. Although I am a big autumn girly as well. I feel like I've got a bit of an autumn vibe on me today. Don't love the darkness of winter, but apart from that, winter's pretty neat as well. I got nothing nice to say about summer. I am literally waiting for just time to pass so that we're in a more bearable season. That's what I'm doing, and that's how I am getting into my knits. So I am well into the body. You thought I was done. No. I have this charted out on my computer, but I kind of try to be a bit analog when I do these episodes. But I have, I think, 2 or 3 square rows left. I think I have 3 left. But I've started the steek for the armholes now, so they're about 1 inch long on each side. These patterns usually don't tell you to make steeks for the armholes. They also usually tend to have you work flat when you do the neckline shaping. I can't stand doing color work flat, so I'll rather put in a neckline steek when we come to that. Whereas the sleeve steek for me is just, I like a bit of precision. I want to make sure that this looks nice, that I'm not just cutting into the color work when I have to cut up the armhole. I like to have those extra stitches there, but you don't have to do that. And that certainly makes it easier to fit the armhole into the length of the sweater, because you just cut up exactly the length of the armhole when you're holding it flat. So you're just looking at how wide is this, and that's what you adapt the armhole to, and you just finish the piece in the length that you want. You don't really count body length and yoke length separately. It's just like one square. Very, very easy to do. I've actually been toying with the idea. You can let me know what you think in the comments about doing a kind of DIY pattern. So a pattern that isn't really a pattern, it's a recipe. Just the thought I've had for a million years that we can mull over. So that's the project that I am working on right now. It is the Voss cardigan. It is a design that, yes, well, I'm following Irma's version. There are lots of versions that have been published by the other companies, and it's not really something that belongs to a particular designer as I understand it, but I just thought it would be good to follow some version to just like get a proxy of what I wanted, even though I have graded it entirely myself, because I'm doing a completely different weight, so it's going to be a completely different gauge, and I want to make sure everything works. So I have just kind of like peeked a bit at the measurements and the charts, and apart from that I'm kind of doing my own thing, because I can't follow patterns anymore. I can, I just don't want to. Another project that I am doing, I'm actually going to show you, even though I never really show you designs in progress, because I think I need to start holding myself accountable. I kind of for years ago stopped showing you guys works in progress because I just put too much pressure on myself to have them done in time. I didn't want there to be any time between me showing you and then someone else designing something that looked very similar and publishing now, which did happen a lot and probably could happen still, but I hope not, because this is the chart from my Endeloos accessory series. I did a club a couple of years back. We did mitts, we did hat, a cowl and socks in this pattern, a chart that I modified from an old Serbo chart. I'm also doing the body, and the body I've actually gotten quite far. It's not that far until I'm going to start shaping for the armholes. I'm going to put a steek into each. So yeah, we got a cardigan. You can see there's a steek here. Bottom up. I am usually team top down, but I am designing this one bottom up because I think when you're doing armhole shaping, you want to do that bottom up. Those are like the only designs I think are easy for people to customize for their own needs, bottom up. Because otherwise, if you're doing it top down, you gotta know exactly how far you have left to either maybe increase more or less for the shoulder width to the bust circumference, and it just, if you don't know knitting math, that can be a bit difficult. So I'd rather do it this way, and then you get a very neat cast on. Although saying that, I should have done this rib couple of rounds longer and a half a needle size bigger, because it's too small for this thing. It may block out fine, but I'm already mentally prepared for doing it all over again and grafting it on, because I just don't know if it's right. Maybe it is, maybe it's fine, but I don't know. Anyway, the yarn I'm using is PT2, which is one of the former Fenul yarn and a current Fenul yarn. So there's a lot to explain, but those of you who've been here before, you know that this was one of the other yarns in this sort of similar quality to Fenul, but then Derma bought PT and they just turned PT2, this yarn, into another series of colours under Fenul. So it's all Fenul now. So you can just use Fenul in this shade of yellow instead of a PT2 yarn that no longer exists if you want this yellow. I've just had this in my stash since they stopped selling PT2 because I hoarded it when they were going to stop selling it. Because I just think it's just a little bit fuller when I just compare these two. And I might just be making that up. They might just look entirely the same. What do you think? I'm probably making it up. It is a little bit thicker. Anyway, they're living in a project bag by Mode in Oslo. And oh, I got through that quickly. I'm promising you, I am telling myself not to talk so fast, but I'm also very aware of how many things we have to go through because it's been a while and I have been knitting just a lot. And I have another project that I kind of thought I had finished, but instead of finishing the tiny little bit that I have left, I cast on those other two. And this is another design, but it is the design that I've actually published already. But I haven't self-published it yet. It's well overdue to be self-published. I am very aware of this, and I'm deeply sorry for anyone who has been waiting for me to put this up on Ravelry independently, because currently you can only get it in a special issue of Lane magazine, which is the Hjarterosa pullover. Hang on. Forgive me for not taking it out of the bag, but you remember this one. I have worn it a couple of times before. I'm just keeping everything moth safe because the summer's here. You gotta air out everything and the moths come in, and it's just a whole... So everything is staying very safe here. Better safe than sorry. But I wanted to show you that you can do it in other styles and colors. I'm also working up some modifications of this pattern. There's nothing wrong with it. It is designed exactly how I meant to at the time. But me and my current tech editor have some ideas of how to make it fit better across sizes. Not that anyone complained, but I have that little perfectionist in me that just would like to try that. So I'm doing it in very different colors. I know, you know these colors, you know them. It's the Aquafresh colors. Or the pattern that shall not be named that I do love a lot. I'm using a very different shade of blue than the navy blue that you may be thinking of, because I have it. I bought a bunch of Jameson & Smith blue yarn, I think it was like 2 episodes back, because I really wanted to do the Berbertoon, and I was looking for this very specific shade of blue that is like kind of denim, kind of turquoise, kind of petrol. It's called ink, so it's kind of like an ink blue. And this is not ink blue. Again, we're in Aquafresh territory here. We're in toothpaste land. And so I thought that's not gonna work. I bought those by the quantity and just, it's not. So I decided, why don't we do a bright blue Hjarterosa, ditch the lies. I'm doing very simple, again, compare against the photo, okay? Just doing a lot less here. I'm actually not even gonna do the color work on the cuffs and the hem that the pattern has, just to like, hey, you can do a more screamy toothpaste color, minimalist version if you like, and it's a different neckline. I love that the Hjarterosa has a classic boat neck, very typical for these old school Norwegian 50s, 60s ski jumpers. And you know, the theme for that Nordic issue from Lane was Nordic, and I really wanted to go with that very authentic, yeah, mid-century ski jumper. They did a lot of boat necks back then. It also makes construction easier, definitely makes pattern writing more condensed, which is good for a print issue. But I know you like your round necks, I like my round necks, so we're doing a subtle round neck here. It's not a drastic difference, it's just for those who want that. I am not someone who will shy away from giving you more options in the pattern, but I won't just like throw them in there just because variety for the variety's sake. I do think they both have merit and suit this design. So I wanted to put in a different neckline, and I want to make sure that we have the best shoulder drop, sleeve length, arm side combination for each of the sizes, and I have done that in the print pattern. However, it's a different way I want to try that I've never done before in this final pattern. It's just been too hot for me to think about it, but I need to get back to that. Ideally today or tomorrow. If you are my tech editor, you know I am supposed to write an email, but it's been too hot to think. So I am using Jameson & Smith for this. I'm not using Usk, which is what it's been designed for. God, so delicious. Too much fiber. But the light grey and this bright red is Vilje by Hillesvåg, so slightly thinner than Usk. So Jameson & Smith is definitely thinner than Usk. So it is a lot thinner yarn, it's a lot lighter jumper than Hjarterosa in Usk was, but it works perfectly fine in the same gauge, same needle size. There's just these woolly yarns, the woolen spun sporty finger weight yarns that I always rant about and have done for nearly 10 years now. They just work very interchangeably, which is just lovely. So it just needs me to finish these sleeves that are so close to being done, and the body, which is so close to being done. I even put in a marker every time I've changed these 25-gram balls. But I realized that while I had bought enough blue for a color work sweater with 2 colors, it's not enough of one that basically is almost entirely out of that blue. So I bought more. I bought another 4 balls of yarn where I could find the exact same dye lot, hence where I ended up being from Wool Warehouse. I haven't ordered from them in many years. They were a great source to me back in my student days. And yeah, they pulled through, so I got the exact same dye lot. Amazing. But I got the main bulk of this yarn from one of my favorite online yarn shops, Pearlessence, here in the UK. So shout out to them as well. I probably bought too much. I probably just needed 1 more ball instead of 4, but because I have one left from the original bunch, which could go for the hem rib, and then the other one probably is enough for the sleeve. So, but I'm very excited. It's kind of ridiculous that I just didn't finish it and then instead just started casting on a whole bunch of other things, but nobody here is shocked. And that takes us on to finished projects, and I have done another design of mine that has been published, just not self-published. So going back, I was part of the Sticky Crafts project that me and a bunch of other designers from Norway and from the rest of the world got together and put our patterns in a book. And we have since got the rights back and we can self-publish them again, and I just haven't, because again it is a drop shoulder design, this time a cardigan, also done in Ask for some reason, and also with a hat. This was a bit of a coincidence, but before self-publishing that as well, so putting it for sale on Ravelry, I wanted to just go over the pattern again. Even though I am very happy with how it is in the book, I have some things I wanted to experiment with, ideas that my tech editor has in terms of making the sleeve length, shoulder drop, all of that fit across sizes. I'm especially looking at the bigger sizes for these and wanting to make sure the drop doesn't go like, you can have it go all the way there because it's for a bigger bust, but I'm kind of wanting to look into alternatives for that. And I'm very excited to learn new things, and so I need to knit more samples, and so I'm doing a pullover version of this cardigan, and I think I will do the same thing for Yartos as well. I want to cast on a cardigan version as well. In fact, I have bought yarn for this. This came all the way from France. I'll put the name of the yarn shop here because I can't pronounce things, but I want to do a grey one. I do a lot of grey. I had to laugh when I was casting on this because I was working through the color work, and I decided I'm going to do very different colors. I want to show you how you can do it different ways, right? Just like with Yartosa. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, again, forgive me for keeping it in the bag, but it was looking rather similar. It's the exact same. This is Fiona Granted, this is Ask. So I don't know what I was thinking, why I didn't pick literally any other colors when I wanted to show how we can look very, very different, just like Anna did in the book by knitting a sample in bright pink. And I just went with more grey. But it did look very different as I was working through the body. Mind you, I say it's finished. I've actually not tacked on the neckline yet, and I haven't blocked it. This is how it looks. The pullover version rather than the cardigan. I'll put the cardigan photo up here. It's a really lovely photo from the book. Very pleased with it. No notes, as we say. It's very similar to the cardigan. I mean, I'm making my size, and that's not the size that will have that, I guess, improvement. I'm making a lot of promises here, but I'm trying to hold myself accountable and just get back into things, because oh, are things tight, and this is my job. Panic, panic, panic. No, think about happy thoughts. Knitting, happy thoughts. So we are going to tack down this neckline. So it's a double folded neck, which I think is just a very nice look for this pullover. So that would be a difference from the cardigan version as well, is that it will have a double neckline rather than a regular one. So there's that. I have been thinking a lot about publishing. I have a lot of mixed feelings about like separate Ravelry listings for cardigans and pullovers, and I have by no means made up my mind there, but I do think it's more tidy to have 2 separate listings. But I also understand the frustrations of like, oh, do I have to buy it twice? It's the same pattern, like, you know. And I agree. So I think I'll do similar to what I've done in the past, where when I put it up for sale, I will just make it so that if you buy one, you get the other, or at least if you get one, the other is like very affordable. I'm still deciding. It will depend on how different they turn out in the end, but I think at least I will do that with these. It varies so much. Like there's some cardigan and pullover patterns of mine that are incredibly different. The write-up is so different. They really truly are different patterns. And then there are others like this one and I'm like, they're very, very, very similar. Almost considered putting them in the same PDF, but I think that made it extremely messy. And especially with the article, so now it's going to have 2 necklines. And you put 2 necklines in with a cardigan pull. They need to be separate, right? So I think definitely separate Ravelry design pages and then just make it so that you can get one when you get the other. I will figure out ways to make that technically work with Ravelry, but that's my plan. Just checking in on the child. She's had such a good weekend. She's been very active, been running around in massive parks here in London, and she has nothing to complain about. So she's just having a well-earned nap. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the sort of project that I have been working on since the beginning of this year, which has been to like seriously go through my works in progress. I have had some intense cases of costinitis in the almost 10 years that I've been doing this. Before starting this podcast in 2016, I was a very diligent knitter, singular, that started every year around New Year's Eve with a blank slate, no works in progress. And I can't say I've been like that since I started. I've just cast on things just because I felt like it. And no regrets, honestly, but it has made my works in progress pile and my Ravelry project a bit of a hot mess. And so I decided to go through it. I have done a printout here for me. I'll show you full screen and we can talk about what we're looking at, which is the 3 rows of projects that I had on my Ravelry at the beginning of this year. On my big monitor, there were 3 rows with 10 projects each. That is 30 projects, and we are now down to 12. Technically 10 that are non-designs. There's 2 designs on there. There's lots of other designs in progress, obviously, around me, elsewhere in this flat as well. I can't really put restrictions on casting on designs. However, works in progress by other designers or that just aren't designs, such as the granny square blanket, I don't need that many. And having got the number down from what it was, I think we're up in 50 to 10 many years ago, obviously. Very pleased with that. So I wanted to go through everything and show you, because my goodness, has this been a journey. So I want to get straight into something I have finished this spring that I guess I will have to take this out of the bag because you've never seen it before and I don't have a photo. So I finished Exploration Station. I cast this on 9 years ago. 9 years ago. And the reason I never finished it was just that it's just not my style. It is an expertly written pattern. No notes. I don't get how this was even developed. It is incredible, but it just isn't my style. And I figured out during the earliest years of Skeindeer that I just like my woolly shawls. I like traditional looking shawls that are just plain color, a bit of eyelets, garter, and there's a lot going on in these shawls. And I didn't really have any other plans for this yarn. So it wasn't frogged, even though I learned that maybe this is just not my jam. And I also really love the color combination that I had come up with. And I had modified it to have 2 extra wedges for an extra large size. And I've done the 1-pass brioche method, done it a little bit longer than stated to make the stitch count work out. And it's just been like hanging over me. Like I've never felt the need to finish. I don't need it in my wardrobe. Again, no shade to the pattern. I didn't want to frog it. I didn't want to finish it. It was in complete limbo until suddenly I just felt like it. It's done. It's done. It's definitely going to go in a gift pile of sorts. If I can think of anyone who would love to receive this, there will definitely be first in line for this come birthdays, Christmas, weddings, whatever people do these days. This could wrap up a pretty chunky baby as well. So you never know what this could be for. So I had stopped this right after the 1-pass brioche here, and I said last episode, I don't want to do the slip stitch pattern. I don't like slip stitches. And you know what? It was fine. It was absolutely fine. No problems with it. Don't know what I was complaining about. And then I did the kind of interesting garter pattern here and ran out of yarn. And you can't really tell. I know that at some point here I had to start putting in the lighter grey that I had a little bit left over from here. But you really can't tell that on the last couple of rows here, it's a lighter grey. It's a bit lighter right at the end there. Nobody will know, nobody will. So really got to use up a lot of yarn. This is a heavy beast. I spent a lot of time on the last row because there was a lot of stitches here, considering I'm doing a much bigger version thanks to these 2 extra wedges. It is huge. It is so big. Yep, and I do love the colors. It is very nice. And I'm so pleased that it's done, that it's out of my project pile and no longer hanging over me. It's just kind of finally out of the world. I am proud for persevering and for believing that I was going to finish. So there, exploration station at long last. Which so let's go back to the projects. I now have Damjaka Land og Strand, which I actually made almost entirely in a week and then just didn't touch it again since 2017. It was a rough week. I don't want to talk about that, but I have a friend in mind for it now. So now I'm just like, if they either want a short sleeve cardigan or I can finish the sleeves for them and it fits them, I will get through it. If not, I can just marinate a bit more. I don't want to frog it. I don't have any other desires for the yarn. I don't want it for myself anymore. I do love the colors. It's a great pattern by Pinnegudi, but it's not my size anymore. The other pattern is the Mamelukke shorts by Maja Karlsson. And it is a free pattern because it is just like a kind of one size fits all shorts, which obviously for the part that is probably the most different from person to person. So it probably would have required some modifications on my part that I found quite confusing at the time, because it's knitting for a part I've never knit for, right? My waist, my belly, my bum, my thighs, and that's the part of me that changes a lot. So a little bit unsure of where I'm at with this. This is definitely yarn I could use for other things. I've gone back and forth whether to frog or not, but for now I'm undecided because it would be kind of cool to finish it and have something like this. I'll think about it. I have put a green frame around Alicia Beth cardigan because I think I will finish it. That's like one that I can easily see myself just starting to knit on now, and I think I've done the sleeves already, and it's kind of like not a lot left. It's just very fine yarn. It takes some time and that's fine. It will happen when it happens. It was one of my first hand-dyed sweater quantities by then Dyer Travel Knitter, and just it's gonna be really nice. When it's done, it's fine. Then we have Hodgson's Joy, a cardigan that I think I started in 2018 as part of a beta knit for the fiber company that I missed so much already. They closed the business a couple months back. I just missed them a lot, and I thought, you know what, I didn't finish the beta knit in time, and if this is the only lore yarn of theirs I'm gonna get my mitts on now, even though this cardigan was nearly done. It's frogged. The whole thing is frogged, even the part that I had already cut through the steek. So I might be losing 50 grams if that part is not reusable. I might just keep it as leftovers if I do end up playing yarn chicken with a future project and splice that together for maybe a bottom band or whatever I'm finishing with. That would be fine. The rest is in a bag. This is not all of it. This was just the biggest intact units because I got a lot of scrap yarn from them and stuff, the leftovers and things to make the cardigan with. So it should be possible to do something else with that I just see myself wanting more. Nothing wrong with a cardigan. It had been 8 years. I wasn't going to finish it when I hadn't done that. Yeah, I just didn't feel confident sewing on the sleeves. I had read a few comments that didn't sound like that was something people struggle with, and it's not my forte. I'm going to use that yarn for something else. So that's kind of the difference in decisions here. Like the exploration station, I probably wanted even less, but the yarn I didn't want for anything else, even though it's lovely. Again, just me and superwash yarns. Whereas this I wanted more, but I wanted the yarn even more. So you follow me? And I have talked about the gibbous oracle, i.e. the oracle shawl by my friend Kristin Lehrer of Woolenvine, that I had talked about last time. That was finished. Also one of those shawls that like expert written pattern, no notes, but I don't see myself wearing it, so going in the gift pile. That takes us to Rocane. I finished Rocane. It was nearly done last time, and I did in fact try it on then. So if you want to see me try it on a much less hot day than today. I'm sitting in my bedroom right now, partially because it's the coolest room in the flat. The sun has not turned a corner yet. But yeah, Rocane is done. I didn't end up changing the neckline in the end. I have worn it a bit, and that made the sleeves grow a bit more, so I might redo the sleeve length. We'll see. It's fine. But I've got the hem on, so that's new since last time. It's got the hem on. Again, a project from 2018. No reason, it just languished, and I have done the hem. It is shorter than the pattern, but it is a subtle high-low hem. It is a bit higher in the back. Okay. And I actually made them overlap a bit. So when I did the the back hem, there is a bit of a overlap in how I picked up the stitches, which actually looks like no overlap at all. And I think I would have had a bigger gap here had I not picked up those 2 stitches or so from this, so that you get more stitches for the back, but you just get a very nice little non-gap there, just splits up very neatly. Can recommend that. Really not more complicated than what I'm making it sound like now. It's just picking up stitches into where you already did some stitches for the front. Kind of hard to make the stitch pattern show up in this very dark navy blue yarn, but and it's in Blueface Leicester Superwash. It's very lovely. I already enjoy wearing it a lot, but not in July, friends, not in July. But yeah, this was never a question of frog or finished. I always knew I wanted to finish it. I always knew this was something I wanted in my wardrobe. I just don't know honestly why it took me so long. But I'm happy with it overall. I'm very happy that it's done. And that takes us to Vertical Stripes by Petite Knit, which is gone. I have frogged it. This was a tough one because even if I'd wanted the yarn, I don't know, like I don't feel too crazy about the Silk Mohair by Phil Kulana. It is fine. It's not bad, but it's also not great. It fluffs a bit, it sheds. And then you got the yellow yarn, which is similar to their Saga yarn, but it was Nusterbarn's yarn, and Nusterbarn don't sell yarn anymore. I don't even know if they're a company anymore. So I kind of wanted that yarn, but I also didn't want to split up the 2 yarns because they've been held together. So I decided I'm going to keep knitting them together, but into something else. This was probably more to do with just me not feeling that excited about the pattern. I think it would have been really lovely had I finished it. I don't know, like there was just something that I wasn't feeling like I would have. If I asked myself honestly, would I have cast this on today? The answer is no. Would I use the yarn for something else in the future? Probably, possibly, maybe. More so than the shawl, right? So that was the decision in the end. It was a little bit tough, but I just didn't see myself ever finishing it. And that's what it's got to come down to. When you think you could use the yarn for something else and you don't think you'll finish. So it's gone. My little Easter knit that I've worked on a little bit every Easter just because, I don't know, little Easter chickens. As I talked about last time, I also passed on the Noordeland hat to a knitter friend of mine in my knitting group. So that one's gone on to a better home. Same thing with the Caroline Halvorsen mitten. I'm just not going to finish them, and I could use yellow Usk yarn literally with anything else. Then we have the Sew the Cardigan, which is a lovely cable knit cardigan from Lane magazine by Hiroko Payne, and I will finish it. I've been picking it up, knitting on it every now and then it hibernates for a year or so, and then it's just one of those knits. I'm not going to frog that, no way. Also frog the Chatoyant. I think I've already talked about that. I just have made a lot of wrong decisions in the yarn choice, etc. It just wasn't meant to be. It's fine. Got Nedven Shawl by Cardigan Lauged, Lykkefanten. I will definitely finish that. It's a very enjoyable knit using a lot of clever short rows to create these stitch pattern in a shawl. I made a lot of progress in just one day, but it was quite a difficult day emotionally back in the day, so I'm just gonna bring that up when I feel like it. It's fine. Then we got the Granskog tee, where I've done like a little bit of rib. I left it for like 7 years or so. Pre-lockdown knit. It's gone, it's frogged. I can use it for something else. Then we have Blomsternet. I talked about this in the last episode that I wanted to finish it, and I have. So this is knit and designed with Vilje by Hillesvåg. It has been blocked. It is finished. It is finished all but a couple of yarn ends because how we met. Finished weaving in ends is a different craft, okay? It's not knitting. I don't do it. I do it. It's folded funny, so now it looks weird. That's on me. But it's done and it fits so well and it's so good and it's so, oh. This is my jam. So this came in I think this was in the 3rd and final Kofteboken. And you good? And I have modified everything. I made it top down. I have done all the measurements different. I think maybe I stuck to the arm side length. That's maybe the only thing I stuck to. Everything else is different lengths, different decrease rates. I don't love how I did this. I gotta say that. That was my idea. I should have just done the standard purl the middle stitch instead of having it knit like this, because it's just creating a very attention grabby detail I didn't really want. It's fine. But I'm just very happy that it's done. It's so gorgeous. It's going to be worn a lot in the winter. Love the neckline, love everything. I think I've definitely done the neckline a lot deeper than in the pattern. I just often, maybe this is just me and my short row gauge, but I just always want them a little bit deeper than they usually are. I think as a lot of Norwegian patterns, don't remember about this pattern, but a lot of Norwegian patterns, again, they make you do the bit from the sleeve shaping up to the shoulders flat instead of putting another steek. So they don't want to make you do it for too many rounds. And I didn't care, so I just put in another steek, and yeah, very happy with it, and I'm glad it's done because this was an old project. And back to consulting the sheet. The next thing was Nurtured. I talked about that extensively in the last episode. Finished Nurtured by Andrew Mowry in Magpie Cotton Wool Blend. Very long sleeves again, very on brand for me as of late. And then another shawl that I finished that I never thought I'd finish is Starflake. Again, it's... I think this was around the time in the sort of the last push where I just realized it's not really the kind of shawls I wear. They are very fun to knit, the patterns are great, but it's just, again, I don't wear superwash shawls, but they are a fun knit. And here again, I had put in 1 pass brioche in place for 2 pass regular brioche, and so it wasn't like I could just make someone else finish it for them to keep, because then I would have to assume that they know 1 pass brioche, which most people don't. And yeah, I just, for some reason, felt like that was a thing to finish. Again, it's not gonna go into my wardrobe because it's not really my thing. It's, however, stunning and huge. I do like the dimensions a lot. I kind of wish I'd done it in like a woolly wool, less contrast yarn, because it's really the sort of shawl shape that I like. Just so you get the idea. And I do have very, very fond feelings about this yarn, because this is Circus Tonic Handmade's custom color for me, i.e. she just randomly dyed this yarn and sent it to me and called it a Norwegian in London. So I have always wanted to finish this for that specific reason. And so it's kind of hard to part with this one if I do come up with another home for it, so it might have to be someone who lives nearby, because I don't think I want to part with the yarn. And the other yarn as well, for some reason I'm blanking on the yarn, even though I know perfectly well what they're called, and it was really, really nice to be able to buy that yarn from France because I hadn't used it before and I'd heard a lot about them, so very pleased to be combining them. It's a very sort of purple leaning brown together with this light pink, so I just want to show you up close what they look like. Honestly, a color combination I never would have thought of. I guess it's kind of burgundy, but like more maroon. I got to a lot of drag race knitting this. That's like the first that comes to mind when I'm looking at this. That's what I was doing. Okay. It took a long time. And there's I-cord bind off here. There was I-cord bind off on the other shawl and the Oracle. And I've done so much I-cord. I am good with I-cord for a very long time. I don't need more I-cord right now. Yeah, but I do follow the pattern sometimes, you know, and shawl patterns I am more likely to do as I'm told, I think, because shawls also, I mean, I don't know how anyone thinks of something like this. It's so much cool to just, how everything's mathing and works and just lays flat. I have no idea. And as a designer, I usually can see how someone arrived at something and developed something, and with this stuff, I'm just like, nope, absolutely clueless. Very, very happy that it's done. Again, it's been one of those projects I started, I think, in 2018 or 19. That's just been hanging over me. Just me feeling bad that I've not finished it, but also not feeling like it suits my wardrobe. But on top of that, feeling very fond of the yarn used. So definitely didn't have any other plans for it. So didn't want to frog it, but also didn't want to, like, you know, part with it. So this is definitely the best outcome, considering. Moving on to the Fin julekofte, i.e. the Pretty Christmas Cardigan by Tori Seierstad. I will finish this. I will. I'm very excited about having it. I just did a bit of a boo-boo when I personally just did a completely different sleeve than the pattern calls for. This pattern has told me again and again that I just need to trust it, but I keep doing other things, and that's on me. So it's just marinating a bit. It's fine. Stag head pullover, I feel the same way about Soda. It is just very complicated knit, lots of cables. In my mind that's complicated. I know cables are easy, but it just requires a bit more from me than like something I'm more used to, like color work. So it can just be ready for me whenever it's ready for me. I finished Damejaka Elinor. I actually think of that as like one of my few woolly summer knits. It definitely isn't suitable for the kind of weather we've been having lately, but if it's a cooler summer night, love wearing that red woolly cardigan over like a polka dot fitted and flared dress. Like, it's very cute. Very happy it's done. It's actually my second Eleanor, and yeah, just really, really happy with it. Glad it's done. Bringing us onto a frog project, the Astrup tröja. This was one of those like one size fits all sweaters that I tend not to cast on because of me and my feelings about size inclusivity. But you know, it's an older pattern, it was in a book, and it's a sort of stitch repeat that is very hard to grade with anyway. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try to make that my size, even though it isn't. And I did the sleeve, and it looked really cool, and I didn't do anything more for many, many, many years. And that's again a way of me knowing that maybe it just won't happen if you don't that little. And I looked at it again, and I just realized, well, it was the perfect shade of green for it, because I really love the green that was used in the original sample. The stitch definition isn't there for a twisted stitch pattern. It's just not. I also think I probably would have needed to do more than just like change the gauge and hope for the best, because that's never really a good plan. You really need to make sure that the neckline's gonna work, the length differences, like it's a lot of stuff to think about. Also the sleeve was weird. The sleeve was weird. What I thought was a shoulder cap actually goes under, and it's the opposite, other way around. I don't understand. It was more like a drop shoulder with like a big wedge underneath on the sleeve side. I think that's a bit risky to start experimenting with gauge differences and stuff. So I'm just gonna let that slide. It can be something else. I can use V-neck for anything. It's fine. Sleeve Island was finished. Again, very, very long sleeves. But this time it wasn't my fault, I don't think. I think I just had to do that because I needed to get the stitch count for my size. It blocked out beautifully and became a lot bigger than it had been as a project. Never seen anything like it in a garment. But again, I don't tend to do garments in single ply yarn. But this, I used the yarn called for because I bought a kit. And that's possibly why I ran out of yarn as well. So, but yeah, it's done. It's done. I love it. I love this neckline modification that I did. I Frog the Cat Bells by Megan Nodeker. It's a gorgeous sweater. I would have made it exactly like the sample, same size and everything. But I have made very little progress. I had done very little to begin with. And when Fibre Company closed shop and I was like, well, I have a sweater quantity of Cumbria. I haven't finished that sweater. I never even got further than down here. I think I'd like to sit on this yarn and have it for something else. And then we have a vest that I'm designing, so I'm not going to talk about that because it's not really part of the project that I'm trying to frog or finish. We got the Drever pullover, which is so cool. It's so cool and fun and interesting and clever and mind-blowing. But I ran out of yarn. So if I'm going to finish that, I need to do some stash diving on Ravelry, message people and be like, hi, do you want to sell this yarn? Please, please, please. Because I have a lot less yarn than called for, and this is the second time I knit with this yarn because I frogged the last project. So it's tempting to maybe say that possibly there's something with the yarn estimates there that isn't mathing, or maybe the pattern should have asked for more yarn. I have no idea, but I don't have enough yarn. It is what it is, but I do think it's a great pattern. Massive, massive shout out. Then is the design that I'm working on, so we don't need to talk about that. We got the Clint Show by Natasha Hornby that I finished. It is gorgeous. It's so cool. And the Granny Square blanket that I always work on every now and then, have for years, it's no rush. And the Festive Yoke worsted that I will publish this autumn. I need to put up a test knit call. If I do, it will be on Instagram. I'm just going to think about how I'm doing that because I am really trying to get back into things slowly and gently without overworking myself and getting burnt out again. So I've had a very long break. It's been 2 years, arguably 4 years, and the only reason I've been able to keep this going is I had some decent amount of savings. My mortgage repayments are a little bit lower than my rent used to be, and I had a couple of hits like the Festive Yoke that have just kept me afloat. And at this point, things are very tight. I have everything I'm buying these days is either from the grocery shop once a month or it's thrifted. If it's not food or underwear, it's thrifted. Basically, things are tight. And it is because I took a break. I know that, and I'm never going to be sorry for looking after me and taking a break, etc, etc. But I'm also like, oh my god, panic, panic, panic. I don't want to lose my home. I don't want to lose everything. I need to have an income again. So I'm really just saying this here to just hold myself accountable, not to stress anyone out on my behalf, but just like, I really do want to come back and publish in the autumn. I have so many designs. I'm now showing you just the tip of the iceberg here. There is so much cool stuff that I am excited to share with you all. But until then, a little thing I decided this morning that I'm going to start doing is a vlog. I haven't done Vlogust since 2018. And I think maybe it was a bit more for my amusement than anyone else. And I don't think I'll be doing that per se. Because that was a daily vlog in a very, very busy month where I traveled a lot. And it was quite the experience and very fun to take you guys along. I think I'll do a weekly vlog. 5 videos in total, once a week, maybe every Sunday. Yeah, that's the plan, just to take you along with whether I'm just doing dog related stuff or I am baking. I'm baking a lot. I do a bit of cooking as well. That's just another hobby of mine. I do design. Maybe not be super active on social media, but me and my knitting are certainly happening. I'll show you London and hopefully you will enjoy that. Yeah, I'm having a lot of feelings still about YouTube, and it's, you know, it is what it is. YouTube is becoming a lot like Instagram, where they really make you work for having your content appear to the people that follow you. They don't trust that people just follow what they want to see. They think they're going to decide for them what they want to see, and so people come up to me and say, oh, you're not uploading anymore. I'm like, no, I am. They haven't seen it because it's just not coming up in their feeds deliberately. They want us to work really hard to appear, playing into the algorithm, whatever that means. And I don't really want to change what I think works for this channel, even if the algorithm doesn't like it. And so I really don't know what to do about that, because I think people like, I hope you guys like what I do, because I've been doing it for almost 10 years. And yeah, anniversary coming up next month, guys. And that's kind of why I'm doing the vlog. I want to celebrate the anniversary. Algorithm be damned. I don't think it's going to like the vlog, but I'm hoping you guys will tune in. But in the interest of beating the algorithm, I am actually generally interested in hearing what you guys think I could do more of in terms of content. Things I'm thinking I'm just gonna like jazz up my thumbnails, because who cares, right? I can talk more about certain things. You know, we've gone over a lot of things in the past that I don't expect people to go back to my almost 200 videos to see what I said back then about something. So I'm happy to go over things again. And yeah, I'm just feeling really inspired today. I just looked at a lot of other podcasts that I've never seen before that are really cool, and I just felt like, oh yeah, this is fun. So yeah, I'm interested to hear you guys' feedback about, I don't know, what you take from this podcast of value and would maybe like to see more of in the same or different way, or I don't know. This is a very open question, kind of on purpose, because I don't know. I do things because I think they're enjoyable and fun. That's the thing that drives me. I am never driven by the algorithm saying you should do things this way or that way or more flashy, or I did it in a certain way. I'm just like, this is fun for me. I talk about the things that I find interesting in knitting, and that gets me excited. And so that's kind of the finishing touch on this in this video. Next thing you will see is my weekly vlogs that will last for the duration of August. So I will see you there. Bye bye.